All right, we are back with another episode of the Glacier Guys podcast, second episode back since our long hiatus, and we're here to talk Bears again. Um, fortunately, unfortunately, whatever you want to call it. But tonight kind of went pretty much how I expected. I don't know about you, Joey.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like it's like hard to know what to expect at this point. Like it's this is like the most I don't know. This might just be like the recency talking, but I feel like this is the most unpredictable Bears team I've spectated in a long time, I would say, just because they come out strong. Well, they never start strong actually, but they'll be in games randomly. Sometimes you feel like they shouldn't be, and then other times they play down to the competition that they probably are with nowadays. But today was just lackluster, to say the least, honestly. Um, I mean, tell the story. All you need to know is 1 for 12 on third downs and 7 for 14 for the other side. So,
Mm,
I mean,
yeah, the offense wasn't clicking when it needed to be. It's just funny because, our first three division matchups this year essentially all came down to the wire. You look at the Packers with the missed field goal. Vikings, that game went to overtime, courtesy of a Caleb drive at the end of the game. And then obviously we know the Lions game, that was the last Eberflus game. And, the Bears were in all those games. So, I just, you know, being the gullible Bears fan that I am, I kind of thought maybe they would rise to the occasion, even though it's a lost season. It's a division
yeah,
matchup. But I don't know. From the start in this one, they just looked pretty flat.
yeah. Uh, I mean, it was pretty apparent before, but Thomas Brown is he has answered those questions about if he's going to be a realistic candidate for the the head coaching job going in the off season. I don't think I think it was an uphill battle to start anyway, so I think it was more of a win-win for him in general, even if this didn't go the plan for him necessarily. Just because he did well as a play caller in his interim OC role, so um, is what it is. I'm not gonna blame him for a ship that was kind of already on its way to crashing before he took control of it anyway. So
Right.
uh, it just it's a real lost season at the moment, and today was like the epitome of it. Yeah, I mean the injuries definitely played a part at specific spots in the game, but this team, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like this team's like on the border of just completely collapsing as far as locker room morale goes. You could just kind of see it on everyone's face.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this earlier today, how Caleb's kind of been the guy that's almost been the emotional leader of this team, I feel like, with guys like DJ Moore kind of throwing fits. And I don't really know where Keenan Allen's personality is fitting into the locker room really at this point of the season or of his career, but it seemed like Caleb
Mhm.
was the only guy that was like really putting it all out there and caring. And dude, you can see it when those shots of him are on the bench and he's laying down in pain. And at the end of the game when he's
Yeah,
hunched over, and I forgot which coach came over and talked to him, but I'm just like, dude, this is honestly just sad to watch.
yeah,
And
yeah,
DJ Moore on that was it on the 2 point conversion where he had the one glove ripped off and then he kind of threw the other glove back and then the defender just threw the gloves back at him? I'm like, dude, that just sums up the um just the frustration of the fans, the players, and kind of everybody with the organization. I really thought it was funny how the announcers were kind of just going at the Bears, and they had to show the montage of how they lost those games in a row on the Hail Mary, the blocked field goal, the time
yeah,
management. And they're showing Ryan Poles up there just chomping away his gum like he always was during Hard Knocks. And they show McCaskey, and it's like they were just, man, they just on a national stage, they were really burying the Bears today. And I don't know, it's honestly just kind of embarrassing as a fan. It's just I don't know. It's like you said. I'm basically what the point I'm trying to hit is that like everyone's just so fed up with what's going on that like even the players are just honestly sick of everything that's happening.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. DJ Moore, I don't know. It feels so weird. I mean, things could obviously change with a new coaching staff in there, which there will be next year. But like it feels like he's just done like with this team. I don't know. Like the way he reacts after plays, it just seems like something's been off with him all year. I don't
Hmm.
know if he just doesn't if he's just mad at the performance of the team, his own performance, a mix of both. Maybe who he's around every day. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different things. I think Keenan's been a positive impact on Caleb. It seems like their timing was off today a lot. Whether it was like it's ball bouncing off Keenan's hands, Caleb seeming like he thought Keenan was going to do something else.
Yeah.
It just felt off, which is a typical thing this year also as well. I mean, they just seem they just seem like they're not prepared more often than the other team. Like almost every week, there's like some random thing that happens. But Keenan and Caleb seem like they talk a lot on the sideline after things like that happen, which is something I like to see. Um, the mental errors, though, it's just I know like I've seen this song and dance so many times with Bears teams where they just seem underprepared or they just have mental lapses like so consistently. Even sometimes the best players on the team. Like sometimes in the past, it's been like a guy like Cole Kmet this year. But like today, like it was the lineman slash fullback Doug Kramer not reporting eligible, taking 4 points off the board. Uh, Kieran Amagaji having four penalties, I want to say he ended up with, which is just I know drafted to be like a project offensive lineman. And he probably wasn't supposed to play at all this year, but man, does he seem like not ready for the moment at all, which is hard to blame him because he was drafted off traits, not production, but at the same time it's like it's tough to watch. It really is.
Yeah, when you go from Yale to playing a playoff Minnesota Vikings team who's kind of just clicking on all cylinders, it's
Yeah.
it's not the best situation you really want to go into, I'd say.
No, no. And yeah, he just seemed overmatched out there, which is like nothing against him at all. It's just I think it really showed may not always be green on the other side when it comes to a guy like Braxton Jones. He might not be an all pro or a pro bowl or anything like that, but you kind of notice when he's gone that kind of
Yeah,
impact, you know, like he's gonna get beat every once in a while, which is it's just gonna happen. But that's also the case for most guys in the league. Obviously, there's the few outliers like a Trent
right.
Williams or Penei Sewell, but I
Yeah,
think
those
he
guys
really
are
showed
so
his
few
value
and
by
far
not being there.
between.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like
yeah,
he's kind of like he's very similar to a left tackle the Bears had before, Charles Leno. Like
yeah,
literally like that kind of player. Like it's actually crazy, but
yeah. And like Roshan being out today, just seeing us give handoffs to DJ Moore and Travis Homer. I'm just like, I was just sitting there like, what are we doing? You know,
yeah,
and third and short, fourth and short, giving DeAndre Swift a run up the middle. I mean,
yeah,
do we think we have Derrick Henry back? I just don't understand some of that, you know?
yeah. That's a thing I'll throw critique at Ryan Poles for, I'd say. Paying DeAndre Swift, I like DeAndre Swift as a player, but to pay a guy who can't be an effective short yardage back and kind of do it all that
Yeah,
much money, as a running back just seems tough, especially at the moment when Saquon's had the year he's had, and he's only making like 4 million more a year, which isn't all that much, especially with the cap space we have. It's kind of tough. I mean, it reared its ugly head when Roshan isn't there and you're forced to use him as a short yardage back, and he gets stuffed 4th and 1 twice, I want to say.
yeah, he's not a
So it's
big
like,
not a big guy.
No, and he doesn't really break tackles all that well either. He'll fall forward every once in a while when he has his momentum going, but he's not. If he gets hit in the backfield, it's most likely he's going down almost every time.
Yeah.
So
Also, his vision throughout his career has been somewhat shaky
yeah,
at
I
at
agree.
at times. So, sometimes he'll break off a good run, but other times, I mean, sometimes he's kind of just a liability on the field. I don't
Yeah,
know. Like you said, though, I do like him as a player. I like him as a pass catcher. That really opens up his game. But
hmm
we just can't use a guy like that in short yardage situation. And Roshan being out puts us in a tough spot. Braxton being
yeah,
out puts us in a tough spot. But still, it's like we got to have another option there.
yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, there's on the offense side of the ball, there was a couple other things. You mentioned it before we started recording, but Rome dropping the touchdown.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
tough.
that was one you'd like to get back. Obviously, we'd probably lose anyway, but that's just something
Yeah.
you'd like to see, you know?
And real time, I was like, was that tipped? But then they showed the
Yeah,
replay, and it was kind of I'm just like, man.
yeah. Good ball
I
from
know.
Caleb though. That's nice to see. But
Yeah, I know. At one point, Rome was targeted 7 times, and I think he had 2 catches. I forgot
yeah,
exactly what he finished with, but there was a few, overthrows in there. Obviously,
yeah,
when you were talking about like the Keenan Allen situation, like, they showed like on TV when they were kind of talking about what happened if Caleb thought he was going one way and he was going the other way and he ended up underthrowing him. But, the communication through that stuff is good. And I just feel like, with Caleb and DJ Moore, that's definitely not happening. DJ Moore's
no,
more like this play is not going my way, and I'm just gonna be pissed off about it pretty much. Um,
yeah, yeah,
I'm assuming Caleb and Rome have a good relationship coming in together, the same draft class, things of that nature. But yeah, and while it's good to see like Keenan and Caleb, talking those things through, it's like, dang, like these things are still happening a lot, and I feel like a lot of other teams in the league, it's really not happening as much. I don't know if it's just because we watch the Bears so much, but it's just like, dang, man, it's kind of tough to watch, honestly.
yeah, yeah. You see those elite offenses like the Lions and Bills who just played,
Right.
obviously yesterday, and they like you don't really see things like that happen very often where like they seem like they aren't prepared. You know what I mean? Like you don't see the elite teams ever seem like they're undercoached or unprepared for a moment. You know, like
Hmm.
obviously miscues happen and mistakes happen during the course of a game, but just seeming like it almost feels like you didn't like rep something enough in practice or like there's just something not clicking between the two just always seems weird, especially when it's uh our supposed number one wide receiver with the number one overall pick quarterback that was just drafted by the team. You know what I mean? It's not like it's
Yeah,
a below average player throwing to a below average receiver who isn't getting any separation kind of thing. You know, like these are supposed to be like the cornerstone players of the franchise. So it's disheartening sometimes for sure.
yeah,
Um,
and you were mentioning DJ Moore, like maybe what he could be unhappy with. Obviously, he was a Fields guy, and he was pushing for him.
mm,
That's where some of this may have started. I'm assuming he wasn't a big Shane Waldron guy when he was here. Um, But then I don't know when he got paid in the off season that felt like maybe we were turning a corner a bit and building his trust back. But like just very early in the season, we started seeing signs of him just kind of not being happy with the situation that he's currently in. And
yeah.
I truly wonder where most of that is stemming from. I would like to know, but just knowing that, we signed that deal with him and everything, I'm just like, what does the future hold with the team and this guy?
Yeah, that's a thing that worries me, but I'm hoping uh the guy we bring in uh during the course of the off season or what type of coach that they do hire to run the team brings in a good offensive play caller if he is not doing it himself
Yeah.
that can kind of control or help maintain the I don't know what you would call it, I guess attitude of DJ, and certain players on the team because obviously, like when it comes to elite players, they tend to want to get the ball and want to have success and you know win. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
As far as the offensive side of the ball, do you have anything else you wanted to touch on? I feel like the run game was like average, nothing, no big plays really, which is I mean it's a good defense, so at the same time
Mhm.
it's tough, but they had the first 20 plus yard play in like almost a month, I want to say.
Which
Like,
is honestly insane to even say.
yeah.
Like that's pretty crazy. Um,
Yeah, and I think it was on the free play. Or no, it was Keenan. I think it was the throw to the boundary to Keenan or
yeah,
the free play to Rome, one of the
that
two.
was a nice play. I got
Yeah.
pretty hyped when I saw that. You know, Keenan
Hmm.
had some good catches. Obviously, he had the touchdown, which didn't end up really mattering all that much. But it's
Yeah.
just like I don't know. A lot of our best plays came at a point of the game where it was already kind of too late to make up for lost ground.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but yeah, as far as offense goes, I mean, there's injuries hurt you, but there's even with the injuries, the Bears are still leaving a lot to be desired,
Hmm.
unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, in
Yeah,
defense, it's just completely fallen off a cliff. I mean,
yeah.
not not to the point where they're like one of the worst units in the NFL. I won't go that far. I think the secondary is still very good, but
Hmm.
they like I think it's some personnel, some scheme. I would say like the third and long conversions, the most
Yeah.
frustrating thing ever. It almost feels so inevitable when
No,
they
I
get a
know.
third and long against the
I
competent offense.
genuinely hope that they get third and shorts. Like I'm so against the third and 10 to third and 14, like that area. It's like it feels like the opponents have like an 80% chance of converting it. It's actually insane.
Yeah, it's insane because they haven't got pressure rushing for a while in a long time. At least since like week 8. I mean, probably even earlier to be honest. But once Billings went down, it kind of started to fall off a little bit, and
Yeah.
they weren't getting pressure rushing for. So they were dropping into some very soft zones to kind of keep the guy in front of him, not allow big plays and stuff like that, which makes sense. But when the quarterback has years to throw the ball because they're not getting any sort of pressure, they can usually make a play and find a guy that
And
has
the
a chance for yak.
Yeah, and it's like yak, and it's the reception is going to be close to the first down anyways,
Yeah.
or right at the marker. And the more time that you give the quarterback and you get less pressure on the quarterback, the guy's going to get open more, has
Hmm.
more of a chance to get to that marker before the catch. And
Yeah.
like you said, it with Billings, with Dexter out, it's tough right now.
Yeah.
And I I did a little research earlier today, and the Bears are they're in the bottom half of the league going into this game. I think they had 31 sacks, and they also had the sixth most rushing yards against per game. So it's
Yeah.
kind of just like you mentioned, the secondary is good. They're definitely above average in the league, but the front seven has kind of just been getting burned by rushers, and at the same time, they're not applying the pressure needed to the quarterback. So what I think is happening is they're kind of relying on the DBs maybe a little
Yeah.
too much to give them a spark, to give them an INT. It was nice seeing Stevenson get that pick. Um, obviously with everything that's happened this season for him, but
Yeah.
I just thought it was so funny. Like they're celebrating with mocking the skull, and they're already down
That
ten
was
zero.
yeah.
I'm like, what are we doing, brother? But yeah, I don't know. It's the front seven's not doing their job. And some of that's injury related, but I mean, going into this draft, I don't see how we don't prioritize either an interior offensive lineman or someone on the defensive lineman, to kind of just
Yeah.
put some more pressure on the quarterback. But yeah, it's just frustrating those third and longs, and they stopped a few later in the game, and I think the pick was on a third and long, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yeah.
um, Yeah, they started to figure out, but it was already too late in the game. So
Yeah, no, it was the unit was never great to start with. That was like
correct.
probably the biggest concern in my head going into the season. And once the depth, the lack of depth showed itself, it's gotten
Hmm.
even worse. I mean, they were getting gashed by the run here and there. Like early in the Tennessee game, week one, they were starting to get hit a little bit by Tony Pollard, and it's the linebacking, like Tremaine Edmonds has not been good this year.
No.
It's he has not lived up to that billing. Like what he's getting paid. A pretty substantial contract
Yeah.
for an inside linebacker. But either way, they're getting gashed by the run. They're not getting any pressure. I think the secondary, yeah, like you said, is being relied upon way too much. I think they can be even better. Like Jalen Johnson has continued to play in the elite level all year.
Yeah.
I don't know for a fact, but I want to say Jalen Johnson only gave up one catch to Justin Jefferson while being the main defender
Yeah,
all day today. So
which is more than you can ask for when you're going up
yeah,
against a guy like that. So I
yeah,
mean, TJ Edwards, he's been
he's
oh
solid.
yeah, he's been solid. But yeah, dude, some of the, like Tremaine Edmonds, like you said, it's just we really thought we were getting like kind of almost. I don't want to say like he could be a game changer. That's what we kind of
Yeah,
went into that as we're getting a very solid starter, and he just hasn't really lived up to the role he was kind of supposed to take on here. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, you have an elite defender like Jalen Johnson, but it's like the secondary can only do so much. When the team's getting run all over, especially lately, just with the injuries and everything, it's a tough ask, and it puts them in a
yeah,
sticky situation. And when the offense can't stay on the field, frankly, like your defenders are going to get worn out. How many first downs did we have in the first half? Not many.
yeah. No,
It's tough, and that everything, all that affects the defense. And when you're losing games, and the vibes are just down, and the offense is throwing fits, it's like how does that not translate to the rest of the team? And Torrey Taylor got freaking blown up today on that one
yeah,
play. I was like, dude, if he's out, like, man, he's kind of been the MVP of this year. Like,
yeah. Right.
it's
It's
crazy.
yeah. It's looking bleak right now. But at the same time, I don't think the team is as far away, at least roster construction wise. I don't think they're as far away from being a success as uh, I don't want to say like majority of people think because obviously I can't speak for everyone, but I
Right.
think uh, the way the public seems to be speaking on like X or Twitter or whatever, they I don't know. I see a lot of Ryan Poles slander, which is fair. I mean, he kept Eberflus around and allowed Waldron to be hired, so that's fair criticism. But I think at the same time, the roster and assets wise, they aren't in a terrible spot. Um, I think this is kind of a team that can be fixed over the course of this offseason, especially with having three picks in the top 35-ish range.
Which is big.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, 35 to like 40-ish. They'll have three picks in. Um, and then they'll they'll have the good cap space. I want to say they're around 70, 80 million at the moment, which is pretty damn good.
Hmm.
There's some options out there. All like the needs off the top of my head, I'd say they really need are edge to play opposite Sweat. An interior, another good interior D lineman. Whether that's in the draft, if they could creep up in the top five and get Mason Graham from Michigan, or
Yeah.
draft an edge in the draft in the first round. I think they could easily transform the D line, and then two guards and a center. I'd say they'd turn it around pretty well. I think, but the also the main factor is nailing the coach, which is
Yeah.
probably the part I'm most pessimistic about, unfortunately.
Well, yeah,
Um,
I mean, you look at the Bears' history, and it's just, especially in recent years. I mean, it's been a lot of swings and misses. Obviously, we had a great Nagy year, and 2020. I mean, that was not really a playoff team, even though they made the playoffs. But
Yeah.
That was tough. But yeah, I don't. It's like at sometimes like we think it's the right move or the Eberflus and just that coming out apparently that he was going to get fired by the Colts anyways, and we sign him. It's just like I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, it's just like the jokes are just writing themselves at this point. But that kind of gets me into this next point, Joe. Who do you want the Bears to sign as their head coach?
Uh, I'm kind of on the Ben Johnson train right now. I think he just makes the most sense. He's got the most proven track record as far as offensive play caller goes, because that's kind of what I'm looking for at this point. I get the whole leader of men, CEO type of coach. I mean, realistically, that's what they wanted from Eberflus, and I'm not going to act like Vrabel is Eberflus because he has a track record of actually being successful as a head coach. But
Yeah,
at the same time, with those coaches that aren't the X's and O's type, where they're just going to manage a culture and try to like rally the troops type, uh, those work, but you need good play callers around. And the problem with that is you have to be able to continue to identify play callers, because if you're successful to start to even keep your job in the first place, you're going to need to refill that play caller spot over and over again, because you're going to keep getting poached. Like
right,
uh
right.
like as far as like Vrabel goes, he had Arthur Smith, but then he did so well because the team was successful that he got poached by the Falcons. And that kind of thing tends to happen a lot when you have that CEO type. So that's what worries me, is sustaining long-term success. But you have seen like a Tomlin type do it, and
Right.
like a John Harbaugh, but it's not easy. So that's what scares me the most. But if you can lock down the offensive play caller as your head coach, you don't have to worry about him leaving. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. No, that's 100% true. I'm also on the Ben Johnson train. We tried a defensive minded guy in Eberflus. We should have started this season with an offensive minded head coach to start them on the same like timeline as Caleb. Obviously that didn't happen. Um, but yeah, Vrabel, that would be an all right signing in my eyes. Just like someone to bring along track record and everything. But he's more of a defensive minded guy, I'd say, than
mhm.
a Ben Johnson. I've heard
Yeah,
talks of potentially Lincoln Riley or Cliff Kingsbury, some other offensive minded guys, which I don't know. I like bringing Lincoln into this a situation with obviously he coached Caleb, but it's like the jump from college to NFL, and we saw kind of how Cliff performed, and I
yeah.
just I am very sold on Ben Johnson at this point as the guy that we might need to kind of turn this ship around and get it smooth sailing again.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing with him is like everyone's been saying that he's like willing to wait around for the best fit, and he wants all these specific terms and all like of the contract and all that. And like at the same time, if he's not going to take this job if offered, what job would he take? You know what I
Right,
mean? Like
right.
this team isn't, you're obviously not going to get hired to a team that has like that's been really good, because they're not going to
Because
fire
they're
their
yeah,
coach.
they're gonna
Yeah.
keep their coach.
Yeah, so like the most likely the team you're going to isn't like a done deal, like guaranteed good team. So you're gonna have some sort of cons to the job, and I think the Bears are in a good spot to flip the script compared to what they performed as this year, especially with his help. So I mean, he's got the young quarterback, he's got a young weapon. Some other guys are like somewhat youngerish, like DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, and
Yeah,
I mean,
even
I
DeAndre
it's
Swift. I mean,
yeah,
he's in
true.
his what mid-20s.
Yeah, so it's a good spot to be. And especially with the draft capital they have and the cap space, he can get some of his own guys that he'd like to get in, you know.
Hmm.
So it's I mean, I feel good about it. I mean, I think he would take it if offered. I'm just scared that they don't offer him. But I at the same time I don't know that for a fact, so I'm not gonna try to be pessimistic about it.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean that would be great. I would
yeah.
honestly just want them to throw a bag at him. Like we
Yeah.
need to turn this around as quickly as possible. Like we're almost at the end of Caleb's rookie year, and for quarterbacks, like, yes, there's been great quarterbacks that had bad rookie years, but it's like things turned around pretty quickly for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like a Peyton Manning or a Brett Favre and just things of that nature. And, those guys did have some good coaches around them, and we need that. Caleb's
yeah,
Caleb's not gonna do this alone. He needs a mentor. He needs someone to guide him that's been here and done that before. And I don't know. Just pairing him
uh,
up with Waldron and Eberflus, it feels like a cruel joke, honestly.
yeah. No, it went about as poorly as you could want it to, and I still think he's done well for considering the circumstances, honestly.
Yeah,
And I'm not on the Lincoln Riley or Cliff Kingsbury train personally.
yeah,
I think Cliff has done well as an OC this year, but like let him be a good OC.
yeah,
Like sometimes guys just aren't fit to be a head coach. Maybe he won't always be not fit to be a head coach, but at the same time, why run that risk if he's already failed at once, you know? Like
yeah.
I
And
I don't
and
I don't want to do that.
it was a fairly recent fail too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
exactly. And Lincoln Riley, I mean, his offense in college isn't even uh something that I'm like overly impressed with where I think he's like guaranteed to be able to convert success in college to the NFL. So if you're going that route, you might as well go Ben Johnson. And at the very least, my backup option would be Liam Cohen, the OC for the Buccaneers. I think he's done well, but this is his first year play calling, so he granted he has done well, but Ben Johnson's got multiple years at this point under his belt calling an offense, and he's been around a guy like Dan Campbell, who is obviously a player's coach to the max. So, I
yeah,
mean, he could probably take a few notes out of his book. So, I mean, I feel like it's a match made in heaven, but we'll see if they make the obvious move. But I mean, we'll see.
yeah. Dan's definitely the ultimate leader of men, and it seems like Ben's more of the brains, quote unquote,
Yeah,
around that situation. And it's not only that the Lions offense has been good. It's like it's been getting better under like while he's been there. You know what I mean? Like it's
mm,
still progressing and getting better, and that's really good to see. And I'd feel more comfortable with that than taking a guy who's been playing calling for only a year. And it's
yeah,
just it feels like Bennett really is the perfect fit, and obviously going into a divisional opponent. Like there's a lot of things involved, and it's funny with like some of this Lincoln Riley buzz. It's almost like it's a Mike Vrabel hire in a way where it's just like vibes because Lincoln Riley's college offense isn't great, but people just want him because he started at Oklahoma with Caleb. They went to USC together. Clearly, they have a great relationship, but it's like if that's the basis you're using to try and get someone, I really don't think it's going to end well. We even saw Caleb's
no.
last season at USC didn't end well at all, frankly.
No,
Like,
he was
so
he didn't even really put him in too great of a position to succeed. A lot of the success he had his last season there was purely him just playing backyard football and
it
playing
was
out of the
literally hero
structure.
ball. Yeah.
Yeah, he was playing out of the structure of the offense that Lincoln Riley himself was calling. So it's like, what are we doing here? I
And
don't
he,
I don't
and
see it.
he, and he still finagled his way to a first overall pick. So, I
Yep.
mean, clearly the kid was doing something right. There's a lot of natural talent there. Do you think the Bears keep Thomas Brown on the staff, even if he's not a head coach? Because I feel like he's doing so poorly as a head coach now that he's not really going to get many opportunities elsewhere. Like, could you see him sticking around as the OC potentially, or even just as a role with the team?
I think that was the kind of the thing. I don't know if I said it last episode or not, but my thinking right away was once you promote him and you consider him a potential candidate, uh, uh, he's already technically competing against whoever is getting the job, you know.
Right. Yeah,
Uh, and I don't think he would necessarily take a demotion in the same organization that he got the promotion in the
I
previous
see.
year. So I think he'll get a shot as a play caller somewhere. I'm pretty sure about that. If not, I think he'll get an OC job where the head coach is calling plays at the very least, because he did well as a play caller up in the booth, honestly. So
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
fair.
So I think he'll probably go somewhere, do that, and try to build up his name to potentially be a head coach one day. But I mean, who knows? Crazier things have happened. If it is a guy like Vrabel, it could honestly be like him as a pass game coordinator OC. Could be. I don't see it as a likely option because he has connections in his own guys, but who
Right.
knows? I mean,
Yeah,
I
who
don't
knows
even.
with this organization?
Yeah, exactly. Like one guy I'm really not high on either is Bobby Slowick, but I've seen him mentioned as well for candidacy. He was mentioned somewhat last year, so
Yeah.
we'll
I don't
see.
know.
He's
Knowing the Bears, we could just go out and sign someone that no one's really thinking about, honestly. So
Eberflus is kind of like that, so you
no,
never know.
it was. I was just like,
Yeah,
what is going on? But
yeah,
we'll see. We will see, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if you have any other closing remarks. Other than that, I
that's
mean,
fair.
it's just I kind of expected to be disappointed, but it's like when it actually happens, it's just like, man, it's just a brutal season. And obviously, losing is good for the Bears at this point, but it's still depressing to watch.
Yeah, I feel you.
So thank you guys for tuning in to the second episode. We're gonna post this very soon. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and yeah, we've been covering Bears stuff. We'll see what direction we're gonna be going forward. Sure, we'll cover the next Bears game too. So you guys can look forward to that. And it's been Ethan Holesha,
Joey Fernandez.
and we'll see you guys next time on the Glacier Guys podcast.